Hello, thank you for joining me. So will Nigel Farage and the Reform Party, once they're in government, will they cut 90 billion of taxes for the residents of the UK? No, I don't see that happening. Will Reform get the public spending under control while they're in government? No, they won't, but they will make progress and they will improve. I'd say, what would I say, over a quarter. They'll get part way there and they'll do their best, but I think that they will get only a quarter of the way through what they need to. Perhaps nearer to a third, but a quarter, thereabouts. Between a quarter and a third, they will control the spending, but not as much as it needs to be because it's so massive at the moment. Will Nigel Farage betray the pensioners with the triple lock, with any triple lock changes? Will he? No, I don't see that actually. I don't see him doing that. None of the party? No, they're not going to do that. So it looks like the pensioners' triple lock will remain. So does Nigel Farage have the necessary leadership qualities to build a structured front bench team that are capable of running the government? Yes or no? Yes, he does. He has some quite good ideas about who to put where, actually. I don't mean it's all going to be straightforward or plain sailing, but I think he will want to have key figures up the front that he feels are strong enough to deal with whatever issues he's dealing with, and he needs people that he can trust to oversee. So I think what do I know? But it looks like he's going to do all right with a front bench that can cope. Nigel Farage has voiced support for abolishing the House of Lords because he's a critic of the voting system and the judiciary. When he gets in, if he gets in, will he make changes in respect of the established democratic norms? Will he do anything about the House of Lords? No, I don't see him making any changes. He might tweak one thing. It's about what they're allowed to do or what they're allowed to, but it's something, it's serious, but it's minor. That's what I would say. When it comes to the brick cards and the ID cards, will Farage and the UK Reform Party take it any further? No, I don't see that. I don't see them. I think they've left that in the dust. They don't seem to have any intentions. It's not even on the list. That is just in no man's land. That has just been abandoned. There's some discussion, and I think I've covered this already, but I will just go over it again. Will Farage and Reform merge with the Conservatives at any point in the future? No. See, again, I get a no. I think the Conservatives are rather battered and don't want to be, I don't think they're going to want to be a part of the Reform Party, except for some exceptions who individually decide that they want to be a part of Reform. And that's a different matter. When Reform Party are in government, assuming they will be, will their policies be any more workable? No. I think there'll be a lot of sort of clattering about. There's one particular and two or three in the background for which there were intentions, but which they will be unable to deliver, probably because of the financial deficit that they will find when they take over. So will Nigel Farage and the Reform Party end the NHS staff shortages in 100 days? This is something that they've promised, isn't it? Will they do that? No. But I do think that they're going to perhaps try to change contracts in the NHS so that, for example, nurses get better conditions, or they can take more holidays, or something which means that working in the NHS while under the Reform Party, that it will be more flexible or easier or better in some way. I think the Reform Party are going to try to appease the NHS staff in order to slow up the hemorrhage of NHS staff leaving and try to encourage people to come back to the NHS for jobs. One thing I would like to ask is, will public sector workers like teachers and police officers face cuts under a Reform government? No, I don't get that at all. That's not going to happen. No. How would the party deliver then on its immigration targets? Will it succeed? Will it manage to remove some of the illegal people from the country? Yes, it will. And actually, that's a strong yes. That's a firm yes. So will they use a third party country? No. Will they send people back to where they came from? Yes. Will they have agreements with other countries? I think they're going to try to increase the agreements they have with countries in order to send them back. Will they maintain the arrangement that we have at the moment with France in terms of one in and one out? No, they're going to stop that as well. Will they give as much money on behalf of the UK to France in order to stop the boat people? No. So there's going to be quite a big shift. Ooh, I see more arrests, and I see it being unlawful. I see them using the law in order to prevent and to put off people coming into Britain illegally. That's what I see. Will the UK Reform Party manage to deport its target of 600,000 in the first 5 years? No. More? Fewer? Yeah, fewer. More like 300,000. Perhaps more. I want to just look at Nigel Farage and the Reform Party in relation to what it will do with the local power that it's won during the local elections. And I wondered, will Nigel Farage and the Reform Party continue to support climate change? Not so much, I don't think. I think they're going to put that on the back burner and prioritise jobs and making sure their voters are happy with the policies that they carry through. And I don't think the environmental policies that perhaps have been driven hard by the Labour Party are going to be followed through with the Reform Party at all. I don't think that it's very likely, actually. And what about with the diversity and inclusion policies? Will they carry those on? No, I don't see that. I think they're going to cut the funding, actually. I think they'll cut the funding for many of those jobs and those departments that previously have received support. So what does Nigel Farage and his Reform Party really want to do? It's been said that really all he wants to do is to destroy the Conservative Party. Is that true? No, actually it isn't true. I think he has a point to prove, though. I think he wants to drive forward all the things probably that he was saying should be done when he was a part of the Conservative Party, which was many years ago. Of course he left. And I think he wants to make a point that if he'd been listened to, they wouldn't been left behind in the doldrums and they would have had some of the votes. So I think it's more about making a point scoring in terms of he should have been listened to, actually. And probably a number of the other people that have crossed over from the Conservatives, they also feel that they want to make a point that they've been, what they would say, they've been listening, whereas the Conservatives have not been listening. And, of course, you can't get away from the fact that they have a hangover, or the voters have a hangover from Boris Johnson. So it's a number of things. I just wanted to continue with some policy and economic questions that I've been curious about. Will reform cut taxes at all? No, I don't get that. I don't think they will. Will they raise the income tax threshold? No. Will they abolish business rates for small businesses? Oh, now there's something on that. There's movement on that. Yes and no. So I think that they're going to do something which will help small businesses. Can the voters rely on their promises? Not entirely, I'm afraid. It won't be through lack of effort, but there'll be quite a lot of confusion and argy-bargy about who's in charge and who should have the final say. What would I say? I'd say there's quite a lot of chiefs and might not be enough Indians. Will they implement the proposed cuts to our public sector pensions and benefits? No, I don't see that. Will voters get a clear and detailed breakdown of the party's current financial proposals to support their claimed savings? No, no, I don't think we are going to get a clear breakdown, detailed breakdown. Will pensions be cut for public sector workers when they get in? No, I don't think that's going to happen either. So there's a few questions answered there. I hope you find it useful.